Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the interview hour. We got Mr. Graham Good of Graham Good and the Painters chilling with us today. Graham, how are you doing, man?
Oh, fantastic, per usual. How are you, Luke?
Oh, now that you're in my life, even better.
Oh,
Graham,
man.
I've told you this time and time again, and I think you're like eventually you're going to tell me to shut up, but you are one of my favorite people on this planet.
Yeah. I'm okay with hearing that a couple more times, I
A
guess.
few, a few more times before you tell me to shut it.
Yeah,
I,
probably.
man, like for everyone who's listening, you're going to hear a lot of the same stuff I've told you over the previous years, but you guys, you as an ensemble, as the Painters, you guys have do something musically for me that is exciting. That I'm drawn to in a way that not many bands I've drawn me to them. So I just like that. I've been a fan of yours since the moment I saw you playing at Globe Hall like 3.5 years ago.
Oh, man. Thanks, dude. It means a lot that you say that we do something that draws you in, because that's kind of the hope for every band who's doing what they do. Is you want to touch people.
Yeah, and like because you the Painters and Float, we kind of exist in this area where we're not quite a thing. Like is it are you guys a jam band? Are you a bluegrass band? Are you a funk band? Are you a rock and roll band? Your answer is yes.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's that diversity that's been just a heck of a lot of fun to be a fan of for and we're going on 3.5, almost 4 years now of me just geeking out over uh, your music. And so I'm excited to be able to sit down and introduce you to everyone who doesn't know you. And for as much as I love your music, I think there's a lot that I don't know about the process. So
Sure.
I'm excited to be here. So tell us about Graham Good as an artist. Tell us about Graham Good as a painter. Tell us about Graham Good as a musician altogether. Start at the
Okay.
beginning.
With artists, Graham Good is an artist. When you say start at the beginning, like how I got into music,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. So I love this story. It was seventh grade, first year of middle school, and we had this class that was split into two segments in one semester. So the first half of the semester was introduction to typing, like on a keyboard for a computer, and the second half of that semester was experimental band, which I think was the coolest class I could have ever taken because we literally just got to fart around on different band instruments for half a semester. So I think I started with the French horn, and then I moved to a trumpet, and then I tried tuba. And the band director was like, "Hey, man, you're not you're not half bad at making fart noises with that tuba. Do you want to join the band, like the school band? There's only one other tuba player, so you would be second chair." And I was like, "Yeah, I do want to do that." It just kind of pulled me in, and so I joined. I sat next to the bass player, like we had an electric bass player, and I was like, "Wait a minute." Fart noises are cool, but that's way cooler. So the next year or that year, I asked my mom for a bass for Christmas, and then simultaneously, my brother Rand he got a guitar, and so we kind of just started rocking and rolling. We had a band in high school called High Road that was short lived, but that was my first experience to like gigging. We did like an Afton show at the High Dive when it was really divey. We were like 16 playing a show at 1 a.m. And our godmother and our mom, were there that late because we I don't think we could drive at that point. So it was just kind of funny that was, the way that we got in. And then Rand, my brother, he just really wanted to get us a show. So he's like, "Oh, I think I found one through this Afton thing. We had to spend a bunch of money to buy a bunch of tickets that nobody else bought." And it's just, the classic. That's how your first rodeo kind of thing. You learn so many different tricks. And yeah, so I started out as a bass player, but my junior year, there was a talent show, and I really wanted to just see if I could sing and play, and so I picked Two Coins by Dispatch and played that. And at that point, the choir teacher was like, "Hey, man, same story as before. You're not half bad at, making sound. Do you want to join the choir?" So I joined the choir, and this was about the time that I had got cut from baseball. And growing up, baseball was life. I was like, I'm going to be a ball player. I'm going to play baseball forever. But sophomore year came around, and this flight of freshmen came in with a coach, and I just didn't get favored, so I didn't have much playtime, and I was like, all right, I'm going to move on and see what else I can flourish in, and that kind of brought me to music and theater, and improv and flyer, and those kind of more artistic, creative outlets that I had so much fun. It was just, being a kid again and trying new things. So that's kind of where I started to turn from athletics to artistics. And then in college, I brought my guitar and just was trying to learn songs every once in a while. And then I found a group of people to jam with. And in comes Graham Good as a painter kind of situation. I don't paint in any form of, like traditional painting, but I'd like to think of painting as with sound as kind of my medium. Um, so yeah, I had written a song about a girl, as you usually do when you're trying to process your emotions and learn from your mistakes. And so I was still kind of primarily a bass player at this point. So I went over to jam with some friends and like, hey, bring your bass, we're gonna jam. And we ended up having a lot of fun. And then I was like, hey, I got this song that I wrote. Do you guys want to check it out? It happened to be Mariah, and like it came together so cohesively and effortlessly and fluidly, that before we knew it, there were people from like it was at this apartment complex that had a pool. People, like, we were pretty loud in that apartment complex. People came from the pool to be like, "Whoa, what are you guys doing?" And we're like, "I don't know. I think we're a band now." So I sent a text and I was like, "Hey guys, that was more than just dicking around. That was real music. There's potential here. Like, can we do that every week, and can we commit to this?" And so that's kind of where it all started, as far as becoming a painter. The name, um, as much as I'd like to take credit for it as being just like a play on painting with sound, it came from our first paid gig. Our drummer at the time, Kyle Jones, showed up wearing a white T-shirt, white Dockers, and like white Sperry's, and he just was all in white. I was like, man, you look like a painter. And he's like, we're the painters. And then it actually happened before the night before that gig. We were in a practice room together, and I was like, do you guys smell that? It smells like paint. And they're like, yeah, it does kind of smell like paint. So it was kind of like there was more meaning to it than Kyle just showing up looking like a painter. It was kind of like a smell. Like, do you smell the paint? Um,
I
so
like that
yeah,
a lot. I like
yeah.
that a lot.
So that takes us from Graham Good, the artist, kind of budding into who he is, and then Graham Good, um, and the painters becoming a thing, and then Graham Good is the musician. Through finding the painters and having that outlet, I kind of just developed. I was in marketing classes, that was my degree from CSU, and so I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do in these marketing classes? I got to stop writing songs because I got to pay attention, and so it's like, oh, we're branding, we're creating, a fan base, and we're having a product, and what is that going to look like, and what is your brand? And so I just kind of picked the energy that felt most natural and comfortable to me, which is good things are coming. Inspire yourself, inspire other people, be excited to grow and get better. Like, life is one giant MMORPG where you're constantly gaining new skills and learning new spells, and that was kind of the theme that I wanted to be behind Graham Good and the Painters, is good vibes. And like along the way, I kind of learned that like there's such a thing as toxic positivity. So I like to think that I've rounded myself out with some more, I don't know, broody is the word, but like songs that get a little bit more real. And it's like, look, I know it's not always rainbows and butterflies. It's compromise that moves us along. Did you catch that Maroon 5 reference?
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
So yeah, it's like you can't have the good without the bad. I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn in my life, is that it can't always be riding high. You gotta get down in those valleys and learn so that you can climb higher even next time, and maybe even fall further next time, so there's more ground to cover. Yeah, and I will end it at that because I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're good, man. And so that, like, you talk about the positivity. I remember one of your shows at Cervantes. You walked out and you said, "Who's is this your first time seeing like the painters?" Raise your hand. A few people cheered, and it was
Yeah,
like, "Welcome to the Good Vibe Tribe."
yeah,
And ever since I've been listening to you guys, that's always kind of been the mantra: is just it's this really kind of positive outpouring. And so like growing up with have have you always kind of been a good vibes all the time sort of thing, or does like did that come later in life? Did that come around with how did you land on Good Vibe Tribe and as your main mantra? Did you have experiences that created that, or was that just kind of where you were?
Um, it's kind of just who I be, how I be, but there are definitely experiences early on where there was too much unnecessary rage um, that I had experienced by people around me and close to me, and there were moments in my life where I tried to be the peacekeeper and the middleman and the person who's on everybody's team, who's like, hey, I see that you're upset about this, but for this person's reasons, it's and eventually I was just like, I don't have to be upset or try to make anybody feel better. I don't. I think the biggest thing was like I realized I don't have to hold on to anger or I don't have to hold on to rage, and in fact I can choose to be bubbly and pleasant and friendly. And so the people around me who showed me what I didn't want to be, I think unknowingly put the pressure on me to turn into a diamond of hope.
I mean, in a diamond of hope, you are good, sir.
Well,
And
thank
so,
you.
do you feel as you've grown through life, like the do you feel the pressure of positivity? Do you feel a responsibility at this point in your life um, to be that beacon of hope?
Yes, absolutely. There have been moments where um, I feel like I can't let my guard down, or it's like, oh, Graham, you have to be sunshine. You have to be happy. Like that's the brand that you've built for yourself. And so I think there's a big, um, you have to have a separation between who you are on stage and who you are in real life. And
Mm-hmm.
I have had fantastic moments with my bandmates who I love so much, where they're like, Graham, we know that you're not always like this and that you can't sustainably be like this. So be real with us, tear these walls down, and um, you know, give us the scoop on what you're really feeling and what's bugging you and stuff like that. So having a camp of friends who you can be exceptionally real with helps you be the happy, positive, go lucky guy in the performance world.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
So talking about your band, I think between all of them, you have some of the most talented musicians in Colorado as a part of your team. How did because I know that it's also been an evolving process for many years. So how did the painters as they are now, how did that come together?
yeah. So the college group had a completely different lineup, and it was people who didn't go to school for music, with the exception of our keyboard trumpet player at the time, Stephanie. She was going to school to be a music therapist, which, if I had known about that, I definitely would have done it because that just sounds like the coolest profession ever. But so college was coming to an end, people were leaving, and we had built all of this momentum but hadn't recorded anything. So I was like, let's get into the studio, let's record something. And I just felt like deer in the headlights trying to handle all of that business by myself. But I got it done. And on that first record, Primary Colors, we have the original founding members, which is Kyle Jones on drums and Chris Moore on sax. We hired in Brooks Brown to play bass and Mike Givens to play keys. And they made it clear that they didn't want to stick around to perform these songs, but they would be happy to record. So now I'm sitting on this 5-track EP, and I only have a drummer and a saxophone player. This is where Rand Good comes in clutch, my older brother. He's going to UNC at the time to get his master's in counseling, and somebody in his class happens to be roommates with Adam Wisman, who was a guitar player that really took us to the next level.
The Wizard.
Adam, yeah, dude, Adam's just a wizard. He's very, very gifted. So Adam brought to the table Cameron Collins, our bass machine, Daniel Thompson, our keyboard player, Zach Rich, our trumpet player, and eventually Joey, and eventually Matt Brown, our drummer. And Joey's our sax player, if I didn't mention that. Um, it was, man, it's tough to go through and cycle through band members. But it's like a process of like, hey, do we vibe with each other? Do we understand each other? Are we on the same page? Do we have the same vision? And so a couple of members, you know, that wasn't true for, so we broke off as cleanly as possible, I think, for given the circumstances, and just the people that I've landed on now are, yeah, you said it yourself. They're some of the best musicians in Colorado, and I believe that they are the best. And I'm a hack. I'm a self-taught songwriter, and my strength is marketing and getting us in front of people and booking. And so it feels like my responsibility as the band leader to help get their talents seen, because their talents are obscene. It's just crazy how awesome they are, and I feel so lucky that I get to play my songs with them, and that they enjoy my songs, and that they show up continuously.
That's yeah, man, and like it's so much fun to just watch that level of talent and fun because you're not a classically trained guitar player. It gives a level of authenticity to the performance that you give. And since it is Graham Good and the Painters, I'm gonna ask a favor. Can you scooch a little bit this way? Yeah, there you go. Your face is getting a little cut off on my end.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you're good. But you get to watch this genuine personality of your music, your lyrics, your experiences, your passion, and then backed by doctoral jazz students and master's jazz students who is like it's so much fun to just be able to watch and be a part of that crowd and that experiences. And like again, I will compliment you till the cows come home. But that first album, Primary Colors, that's been one of my top 5 listened things on my phone. Like
Oh
over
my God.
over over the summer during quarantine, Alyssa and I did a lot of walks around the neighborhood, and um, that album was in like her top saved music. So anytime we would go for like a 45-minute walk every night and throw on some headphones, and Mariah would play on there. I was like, Mariah, Music in My Room is one of my favorite songs, and like because that's the album that I got into you guys. That's watching the I Globe Hall. I stood like 2 feet next to your or 2 feet away from your mom, standing under that janky air conditioning unit, and it's like, who is this? And she's like, oh, it's Graham Good. I'm like, okay, cool. And we went and downloaded your music that night, and I've been hooked ever since. So like, I there's a few bands that I truly love, and you guys are one of them. So
Man, thanks, dude. Look, I can tell you're being real genuine, and that means a lot. It really does. There have been few people who have been more vocal about their belief in what I'm doing and what the band is doing than you. So that means a lot to me, and it always fuels me up to hear you.
hey man, it fuels me up to hear the tunes. And so that being said, I don't know how much you can talk about this, but you guys are releasing a new little album coming up soon.
Yeah, man. We
So
have.
you tell yeah
Go ahead.
tell me about that. I like because I love it. I listen to it regularly.
Oh, dude.
The album starts and I already got a smile on my face. I like it's just for me. It's you guys to a T. For those listening, it is not ready for release. I'm fancy and got a premiere. I got an early release of it, but it's it's a beautiful evolution of where you guys were, combined with the songwriting that you've been doing over the past 2.5 years and the stuff you've released as a solo artist, but then
Hmm.
orchestrated for this 7-person project that just brings it to a whole different light. So tell me about the writing and recording process of that.
Oh man, this was a big old project. So when we started recording this album, Adam Wisman was still in the band, and he was our mix engineer because Adam was responsible for our second EP, Good Things. Um, and so we started working with him. We laid down basically all of the bass and guitar tracks, and some of the keys and some of the horns. And then, somewhere along the line, our relationship kind of went south, and it just felt like it would be easier if we weren't creating together anymore. So we took all of those stems, brought them back to us, and then right as quarantine is about to start, Matt and I fly to Minnesota, and we link up with Carl Vincent Roth, who is the bassist for Satsum and a beautiful songwriter in his own right. But he had a little home studio that we flew out to get drums recorded. Matt killed it, 11 tracks, one day, no problem. Everything's phenomenal. I have I have the next day to do my tracks, and then I think a little bit some the next morning. And this being like the first time you fly somewhere to go record, you're like, oh, I feel so cool. Like we're on a plane, we're going to do music, and it just feels so real and professional. But I was apprehensive AF because I was just like, oh my God, like the two previous records I had made, I was the first one oversang, second one don't feel like I sang enough, like gave enough power a little bit. So I'm like, okay, you got to find that balance, and I ended up oversinging again and just like really digging in. And so, we come home and Carl's like, hey Graham, I think there was, some nervousness, some apprehensiveness. You might want to try just recording these vocals at home and see what you can do. And so I built up a little studio, which we're in here now, and learned how to do the dang thing and finished it up. And then, we have pretty much all the parts. We redid some horn stuff to make it a little bit more fluffy and fancy. And then it's like, okay, well, I think this record is missing a lead guitar player. And so in walks Lance Ruby. And we had a blast writing Lance's parts together right here in this room and sometimes in Joey's room. And yeah, it was like 2 years in the making. And we did half of it by ourselves, half of it we had professional help. And yeah, that was kind of the whole. I guess when you talk about writing, these songs have been written. Typically, it'll start with me on an acoustic guitar, and I say, "Hey guys, check this one out," and then everybody's just like, "Okay, I get it," boom, boom, boom here. And whatever kind of like fun, flashy ideas that the horns are doing, or that we decide on for, here's when we're going to take a solo. It's kind of a real collaborative effort in that regard, as far as finalizing the structure of the tune and taking it from start to end.
That's I love hearing the process because like it's at so as the frontman, as the title artist of the group, do all of these songs come from you, or is the collaboration process like Cameron comes in with a jam, or Dan comes in with a jam, or Joey comes in? It starts with you and then extrapolates to the band. So
Yeah.
do you feel the pressure of that to continually like? Does music naturally flow from you, or do you? Okay, you're a writer. You're a
Yeah.
that's
I Yeah, I just write when I come home from work. If I don't have any extracurricular activities planned, I will play guitar until my arms hurt, and I'll sing until my voice is dry and gone. I love writing. I think that's my favorite part of the whole thing, is trying to paint a story and trying to um, piece together another adventure, a sonic adventure.
I mean, mission accomplished, good sir.
Thanks, man.
So
There are exceptions to that. Like we do play a Dan song called "Sweet Sounds." We have a Cameron song called "Durango," and we started playing this song "Find Your Lane" that Zach wrote. So like I'm totally open to the boys bringing stuff to the table, provided that they have stuff they want to bring and want to share, and I'm always open to that.
that's awesome, man. Okay, cool. Well, let's keep moving that along. So, do you have a favorite song, or do you have a release date for the album? Can you talk about anything like that, or like because I know you guys
Man,
just released "Slumber" as a single,
yeah.
which
The more I learn like the proper way to release things, the more I'm like, I haven't done any of that. I don't have this prepared enough. Like I watched the thing for release a single. You need 6 weeks of prep time. You got to do like 3 videos, and then once it's out, you just blast it, blast it, blast it. So I'm really taking this time to learn, ingest, digest, and apply some of these different things that I wasn't aware of, and I just don't want this record to flop, so I'm kind of holding on to it. But I think it's just like, dude, put it out there, is the message I keep getting from people. So we don't have a release date, but we have been shopping it around for different record labels. I'm also starting this sync licensing class. I've been in it for 6 weeks now, and what I hear is that it's a lot easier to get sync representation if you have an unreleased album. So there's really no hurry to get it out there. I'm just trying to keep on barking up the right trees and whispering to the right little birdies about what we're up to and see if we can get somebody to help us push it farther than, our Colorado region, which seems to be, we can handle Colorado, but I want to go farther and further.
Yeah, man. On a sidebar of that, have you heard of NFTs?
Yes, dude, non-fungible
Non-fungible tokens.
fungible tokens.
I,
Yeah, I have heard about that.
I've been going down that rabbit hole a little bit, not too aggressively, but I'm the stories I'm seeing are that of success from people that I know, from like friends, and yeah, like we have a friend who is an artist who is killing it right now in the NFT game.
Wow.
And yeah, and I like there's producers and artists that are putting stuff out. Tony Hawk just retired the Ollie 540 like a week ago. Like
Oh,
it was a trick he invented back in like '89, and he's like, I'm gonna retire it, but they recorded it and they're gonna be releasing that as an NFT and
wow.
as a virtual collector's card. And so I'm I'm like a Bitcoin person. I'm like, have you heard about Bitcoin? But it's like when you're talking about releasing it, so much of this industry is like, man, I'm tired of paying other people to do stuff that I could do. And the NFTs is person to person and peer to peer, and so there is no middleman, and you can release however many you want, you can release how few you want, and it can't be copyrighted or stolen.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if you're looking at stuff, I'm like, as my looping project, I'm trying to figure out how I can dip my toes in that and put some rods in those fires because
Yeah.
why not? If there's people on the economy is based off supply and demand, and if people will pay for it, that obviously means that it's worth something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've just like I keep hearing about it, and I've been watching videos and reading about it, so I'm fascinated by it. But let's move back to the important questions. So do you have a favorite song on the new album? Or do all of them speak to you equally? Like you talk to it, you're a mother with 10 children and you love each of them the same.
Um, that would be a fun and cute approach, but I do think that the most important one to me might be bullshit.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of those ones like we were saying is on the more real side of things. It's like, it acknowledges the darkness. Um, Now that I think about it, it's kind of just like, ignore it, turn some music on, and it isn't there.
It's
But that's
no,
not
because
necessary.
it's because you don't say music pushes away,
Yeah.
music helps you deal with.
Yeah.
And that's like that I love that you said that cuz that's one of my favorite songs. Like that's one of my favorite songs that you guys do cuz it's just you're so passionate when you perform it that you can truly see that music helps you deal with the bullshit.
Man, yeah. That is real truth.
Yeah,
Um,
man. So back to moving on, talking more about like you as a performer and you as an artist. What looking at like the first shows, the early stages of the Painters, did
mm,
you? Is there a moment that you felt that okay, I am a musician. I'm not just doing a garage band with some friends. Like there's potential for this to be a real thing, a real business. When did you kind of hit that precipice or that inflection point?
hmm. Um,
And or have you hit that yet? Or do you feel that you have hit that point?
I definitely believe that I am a musician and that I um, am on the right path and that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. I mean, it could almost go back to like, that first moment where, we started playing Mariah and I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't just a scrappy jam, like that was a song. And I think there's power in songs. So I think as soon as I started writing more songs and feeling comfortable about them, that was my signal. It's like, okay, keep writing, don't stop. Um, and of course, like I think transitioning to the Denver scene out of the Fort Collins scene was that was really awesome because we started doing the Globe Hall sets. That was right when we started playing shows with you. Was like right when we started getting into the Denver scene, and it just kept getting to the point where it's like, okay, we're selling all our pre-sales that they asked us to sell. Sometimes we would ask for more so that we could keep selling them, but the last show that we played, I barely had to lift a finger to get two sold out sets, and that I guess that moment, which was only like a month ago, that was something that was really special to me because it's like, oh wow, there was some new people that I had just saw that Globe was having music. They checked out the band and they're like, oh great, this is awesome. I'm going to buy tickets. And then there's the people who have seen me and seen the painters too many times to count, and they keep showing up. And I can't tell you how much that makes me feel like, oh, they aren't doing this just because they want to support me. They genuinely like what's happening at these shows, and that realization, I try not to let it make me have a big head, but it's just like it's fuel. It's like, okay, like this is something that they want to spend their time, enjoying. So you must be onto something, kind of.
Yeah, man. Then like you kind of said it, that feeling of like, oh, we didn't have to hustle to move this product. Because I'm gonna like Red Rocks.
Yeah,
We're gonna talk a little bit about Red Rocks
dude.
because like that was for those watching who when Float Like a Buffalo got to play Red Rocks back in October, the Graham Good and the Painters was our co-band with that one, and we got to do 2 days. And yeah, man, that was a pretty the fact that it came together, one, was cool.
Yeah,
The fact that we're like, okay, $80 tickets, that's the most we've ever asked anyone to spend on us. And the fact that the first show sold out in 15 minutes, and I was like,
yeah,
but okay. And then we are like, well, can we do it again? And we did. And
yeah,
to
dude.
like call that, or like there was people that were there that were like, I go to a show on my birthday every year, and this just happened to be the show that I bought tickets for. And it's like, thanks for being here. And then there's the people
Yeah,
who have seen you too many times to count. And so like, I know what Red Rocks felt like for me. Tell me about your experience, because that was your guys' first time being in the amphitheater.
yeah. There's two ways to look at it. We weren't on the actual stage. We didn't get to do the cool downstairs green room, sign the wall tunnel thing, um, and we had to pay for our own beer. So you can look at it that way, but
Yes.
I've been choosing to look at it this way, where it's like, okay, we are 30 rows up in the middle of the Magic on a makeshift platform for all of our friends looking up at the rocks, and it's 2020. How many bands got to actually play at Red Rocks in 2020? And you get to do this 2 nights in a row. Um, it it almost felt more special than it could have felt if it was the normal way. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody really gets to say, except for us and a few other bands who did that kind of a situation. Were we the only ones who did the makeshift metal platform?
As far as I know, full band. I think there may have
Yeah,
been like solo artists and like Petty might have played from the center of the amphitheater. But as far as full production, I think we are the only ones to do a full band from there, to have that production. And I'm thinking for historical Red Rocks likes to track the annals of history and have like they're very historical in their process. And so 2020 is going to be a big year. And so you get Lotus, Megan Thee Stallion, Nathaniel Rateliff, Billy Strings. I think there's one other group, and then us.
did.
And so like it could have been a sold out. It could have been socially distant main stage, but
Hmm.
it wasn't. But no one else got to do it, so that in itself makes itself special and different.
Yeah.
And there was no other band that we would have wanted to have done that show with, because it's just
Thanks, Luke.
brother, because like brethren of music, like floats drawn to like it, we get as stoked for you guys as from what we've seen you guys get for us, and so
Yeah, dude.
it's great to have that kind of relationship and that bond and that friendship that extends beyond just tooting some horns and dancing around. Like
Absolutely,
that's what's
man.
fun for me. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
in thinking of all the shows that you guys have done, you've been doing you guys are doing Fort Collins and doing that stuff. Then you broke into the Globe Hall and have been making your name in Denver. What
hmm
was the first show as any iteration of the Painters that felt different? That wasn't just like, okay, this is another gig, this is our job, but you finished it and went, okay, okay, that was a show.
That's an interesting question, man, because I tend to have that feeling after most shows. Of course, there will be shows where I'm like, I felt off or I didn't feel 100%. But, it might have been um, when we released the Good Things EP on St. Patrick's Day in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It was our first sellout by ourselves. We were the headliner. I think that might have been our first headline at a club in Denver too. So I was like, boom, we finally headlined. Boom, we sold it out. Boom, here's our new record. And we had a great music video from that night, and I think that was a turning point for sure. Um, yeah, it was just a room full of people, and Larimer Lounge was just a real fun place to be at that time for St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, I'd say that show really felt um, like extra special. It's like, okay, we've reached a new level.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here?
Yeah. I have a video of you guys playing music in my room from that show on my phone still.
Oh,
But again, man, I geek the hell out over you guys, and so um and so in the same kind of capacity, like why usually ask like favorite performance, but would you kind of are all of them your favorite, or is Larimer Lounge like all of them are your favorite?
yeah. Every time I get to be on stage, those are the minutes I live for. That's what I exist for, and that's why I keep on trudging along through a normal life. Just to get on stage, because every time I'm there, it's the best.
Yeah, man. Now on the flip side of it, do, do you have a worst show? Do you have a memory that you think on and just go, oh,
Okay. I do know. I mean, I think there have always been moments where, maybe I'll break a guitar string or I'll just completely forget the words. But one of the things I learned in baseball was like you don't let the errors get to your head. And so there hasn't been a gig where I felt disconnected the entire time. Um, yeah, I don't have a great story for that.
I that's you know that's a good story is to not have a bad story because like yeah I can think of a number of them that we've just been like, why are we here, why are we doing this, and but
Yeah.
it's the gig, it's the
Oh, okay. Here's one. This is our first tour, last date on the tour. We're in Kansas City playing at a dive bar that I can't remember the name of. There's four people, and we're just looking at each other like in the audience. There's four people, and we're just like, what are we doing? Like I think we were all worn out from traveling and being in a van with seven smelly people, um, and we kind of just like lost hope in the performance. We're just like, all right, we'll just kind of do this and then go home. Um, yeah, there's not like anything super special or sour like that made it sour. It was just kind of like there's nobody here. Why the hell are we in Kansas? Um, yeah,
but hey,
no,
those four fans are gonna bring four fans next time,
that's
and
what you
those four
hope for.
like Yeah, you play the shows where the barflies are telling you to turn down. And you're like, oh man, come on! Like, we're here to give you music, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to have a conversation. You're like, oh
Boo.
yeah. So now, do you have that? We've talked a lot about you as a performer, but is there a show as an audience member that you track as like your favorite show you've ever been to?
Hmm, that's a great question.
Thanks, man.
Um, all right, I'll give you a couple. So like JJ Grey and the Mofro with Common Heart at Washington's, January 2019. I bawled my eyes out. I have never been more visibly, in tears from music ever in my life, and it was "Sun Is Shining," and JJ Grey just like he just came over me with a warm wave of like goodness, and I cried. Like people around me were like, "Oh my God, is this dude okay?" Like it made me feel so much emotion and just joy for music, and that it's such a powerful tool. And then I think anytime I go to a Ripe show, I just I lose my shit. It's so much fucking fun. Um, I think they're the band that I've seen the most out of any band I've ever seen. I think Pigeons is probably ahead of them, um, and I love Pigeons too. But yeah, I'll leave it at that JJ Grey show. That was probably the best one.
That's awesome. Yeah, Ripe's a band on my need to see. I haven't seen them yet, but I got into them about it was last time they were in Colorado. A friend told me it's
Yeah,
like, dude, you guys should be opening for them. I'm like, who? And just kind of looked it up, and I'm like, just kind of grabs you by your heart, and
yeah,
I'll be doing dishes and just be dancing and just having the best time because it's just so
yeah,
much fun.
yeah.
Uh,
Big love for Ripe.
Shout out to Ripe. If you guys are watching this, please be watching this. That's gonna be the next step. Got to get those guys on the
Yeah.
podcast.
I've actually
Um,
been doing life coaching sessions with Samson, their drummer. I had to
really,
put those on pots, but yeah, Samson's just a wonderful, down to earth guy, um, as is all of the band. So
very cool, man.
good people.
So now to like the COVID, we're coming around. We just hit a year of COVID.
Yeah.
How tell how's COVID and Graham Good gotten along?
Me as a person,
Yes, you as a person and COVID. What's that? What have you? The ups, the downs. If you're willing to talk about it, the ins, the outs. The what have you learned? What have you gained? What
yeah.
have you lost?
Um, man, uh, negative side effects aside, like the fact that we can't play shows in a room full of people who are just pulsing with energy. It's been a phenomenal year of growth, learning new skills, changing my unhealthy lifestyle to a more healthy lifestyle, um, kind of laser point focusing in on the vision and how best to get there. Um, I learned how to record music, which has been the coolest thing I could have ever learned because now I can, I play bass, I play guitar, I can sing, I can do banjo, like putting together just these demos. I'll spend a night making a demo and then listen to it the entire, all of the next day, and it just brings me out enjoyment. Next day, go do the same thing, make a song and just listen to it, and these songs don't go anywhere, but they're just there for me to express and create. And having it to be able to record and produce your own music feels like a literal superpower. So I'm really thankful for that, and I feel like as a band, like we've been able to get a lot closer and communicate and lean on each other for a support system, which isn't something we really had to do before, but it really brought us closer, I think. So as shitty as it was and is still, I think there's going to be so many cool songs that are going to be released into the world soon enough. And yeah, I did okay with COVID.
That beard is looking pretty nice with it.
Yeah,
So that
dude.
that tell me the story because I remember you mentioned it once. The beard is a symbol for quarantine. It was a symbol for live shows. What was the behind it?
Uh, there's no real symbolism. I just lost my shaving charger, so it's like I'm in my house for 2 months. I don't have to go see anybody. I'll just look like a scrub. And it came in thicker than I thought it would ever would. So I was just like, well, still don't have a shaving charger. Let's just kind of keep this thing going. Um, so yeah, I
I,
eventually got a new razor for Christmas, but I'm afraid that it's like my first beard, so I'm attached to it. I'm like,
I
I don't want to see you go.
Dude, 2015, I grew a beard down to here. It was my year of the beard. Problem is, I can't grow hair right here,
Ah.
so I just looked super super Amish, and many people would be like, "Dude, you need to shave your beard." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm pretty sure it looks good." And they're like, "It doesn't." Then a homeless guy would walk by and be like, "Hey man, nice beard." I'm like, "That's it. I'm keeping it for a week.
Oh
Keeping it for
my
another week."
god.
And it wasn't. I like had the beard down to here. Or in the end of 2015, I started growing it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Or it was end of 2014, I started growing out a little bit, and then I went on New Year's Eve to go get a haircut. It was back when I still had hair. Haircut and a beard trim, and this old Italian barber just shaved my entire beard off. And I was like,
No.
because like I just need the scraggles trimmed up. He was like, scraggles,
Oh
like
gosh.
so like and for women who have gotten a bad haircut, I finally understood that feeling when the chair turned around. I'm just like, oh.
Ugh.
But it was the beginning of 2015, so I was like, screw it, we're gonna try it out. And I took one picture in Indianapolis. It was like I took a selfie in the Lucas Oil Stadium and looked at it and went, yeah, that's coming off tomorrow. It had reached the end of its road, and I
Yeah,
next day went home, had some clippers, and trimmed it off.
man. I laughed so hard because he's like, no, man, I'm pretty sure it looks good.
I'm pretty sure this. You're wrong.
Yeah,
I. It was also
yeah.
at the same time an article had been released that beards had poop particles in them, and so I'm a server at Red Robin, and I would walk up and they're like, excuse me, Huffington Post released an article about poop, so I'm gonna need a new server. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you I take care of this beard more than I do any other part on my body. I like scrub it, I brush it, I oil it. Like you're gonna tell me I have poop particles in here? I'm gonna rub my beard on your food right now. Talk about poop particles.
Oh my god,
But
dude, that's too funny.
see,
The
yours actually
Huffington Post?
it was something like some ridiculous article. But have you gotten it? Do people appreciate the beard?
Yeah, most people have been appreciative. They're like, "Oh my God, look at that! I didn't know you could do that." Once it got a little bit like too
Wispy.
caterpillary and wispy, so I got it trimmed up, and that kind of kept those people at bay. They're like, "Okay, yeah, no, it's better." But
It's respectable. Good. That's a good looking beard.
yeah,
You get the people who just come up and touch it.
not too many
Oh,
actually.
it's also COVID, so that makes
Yeah,
a little bit more sense. A different
yeah.
time, you get the chin scritches like a cat for a little bit,
I would gladly welcome it in a different season of health.
right? I mean, man, I got my dose one a few weeks ago, and I got dose two coming up in like a week and a half, and so like,
Did you have any side effects?
oh yeah, I got the Moderna one, and mine were latent. It was like 3 days later.
Oh,
I woke
geez.
up and it's like, and then the day that Alyssa had gotten her second shot, so we were already anticipating her having side effects. And then I wake up, and I never like spiked a fever. I never got super sick. It just felt like I was hungover with a head cold,
Oof.
and it was just like. And then 2 days later, I was like, okay, done. You're like, well, that was simple enough. But
Okay.
yeah, like we were looking it up, and it was like, anyone else experiencing side effects like 4 days out? And it's like, okay, not the only one here.
Yeah.
But
Damn it.
yeah, so so like with vaccinations coming around, Red Rocks is announcing they're starting shows. There's a lot of Serves is doing shows. A lot of the smaller venues are doing shows. What's what's the next goal for the painters? What's the next goal for you guys? You have do you have any tours that you're working on? Do you have any just shows that you're working on? Do you have any?
I think there's a tour in September and October that I'm hoping is still happening with one of our brother bands. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, so we won't. But we're doing this really cool live stream at the Armory that they're gonna make like into a game show movie. Um, they're like taking the extra mile and effort to make this thing a lot more fun and entertaining. So that's like a goal that I was like, oh, I think the Armory would be sweet, and it's like, oh, cool, that's happening, sweet. And then, dude, these past 2 days, we've been getting blown up with opportunities. Just like, whoa, the boys can barely get me their availability for one date before I get another opportunity for them. And so we are going to get up to Wyoming, do a little festival in Casper, and then try and hit Jackson Hole. So those are some goals that we have. Um, I think we'd really like to just keep expanding to different markets, even if they're little, like when we played in Nebraska with you guys at Alliance, like just getting outside of Colorado, doing a little bit of road tripping with the boys, getting a nice Airbnb, and then coming back after the show, after we kicked butt, and just tossing back a few cold ones, having a great time. I want more memories like that. I want to do a little bit more of that if it's reasonable and safe.
Slowly but surely, for sure. And I saw you guys are playing with Joe Hurdler and the Rainbow Seekers up in Lincoln or up in Cheyenne coming up soon, right?
Yeah, yeah, in Cheyenne at the Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We're trying to make it, everything fingers crossed. Like we want to do the Mishawaka that Thursday, the Lincoln on Friday, Levitt Pavilion on Saturday. So
Oh,
that's like the dream vision. We're just kind of trying to see if we can get the cards in place.
that'd be awesome, man. Yeah, Levitt's all of those are great venues. All of those are so much fun.
Yeah,
I got to go to my first Levitt show in October this year, and it was a socially distanced Unsquabby show, and it was just the best. We had because I want live music to come back. I want it to come back in full force, and I want to perform to sold out crowds. I want to attend socially distanced shows though.
yeah,
Like I at 22, put me in the center of it, get me out there and getting sweat on. But at
yeah,
30, I'm sitting at my table with table service, and I get to sit down and not be shoved. I'm like, man, this isn't awful. And we're home at 10:30.
yep,
I'm not
yeah,
hating on this right now. But I also
yeah.
you go and play those socially distant shows, and you just want it. You want
Different
more.
energy.
The
Yeah,
the crowd is addictive, and God bless all of you who are out supporting and buying those tickets now. But man, I can't wait till there's a lot more of you buying those tickets and we're shaking some stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's super exciting, man. Well, Graham Good, you are just hands down one of my favorite people. It's from your vibe to your music to your just general friendship for the How I Met Your Mother fans out there. Uh it just from everything that we've experienced together and gotten to perform together and watched each other grow as musicians. It's just been an absolute pleasure to have you as a friend and a colleague.
Likewise, Luke. I appreciate that, man. It is something special that we have between our bands, that we're able to climb the ladder together, and stick our necks out for each other, and it's just support is a sport. It always that's what I've always seen it as. And it's like musicians supporting musicians is so huge.
Yeah, man. So tell our watchers where we can find Graham Good and the Painters. Where can we find your upcoming stuff? Where can we peep some tunes? Tell us about anything that you want people to know.
Yeah. Well, we'd love for you to subscribe to our YouTube page. We're always trying to add more high quality content there. Follow us on Instagram at ggood and the painters. On Facebook, Graham Good and the Painters. You can check our website out, which is grahamgoodmusic.com, and then beyond that, just kind of stream the tunes on Spotify and iTunes. And if you like what you hear, the biggest thing you can do is share it with a friend, because it's like those 4 people in the bar at Kansas City. If they tell 4 friends, you tell 4 friends. That's how we get past um, the bubble.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as per usual, this episode is going to be uploaded to the Jamcast archives. But Graham, it has been so much friggin' fun to just sit and chat with you. We don't get to do it.
Yeah, man.
We don't
Me
get to
too.
do it enough,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I always enjoy being able to sit down and talk music and life and everything in between with you. So,
yeah.
um, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Loop Storytime. We have Graham Good and the Painters. Check them out. You will not hate. You will. You not only will you not hate it, you will love it, and it is addictive, and it will make you feel good. It'll make you feel happy. It'll make you feel joy. It'll make you feel all sorts of things. So, Graham, an absolute pleasure, man.
Dude, likewise, Loop. I couldn't have been more happy spending the past hour with you. It's been a
Per
good time.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you again in 2 weeks. We're going to be having Shush Roswell on the show on the next episode. So make sure you tune in and share this with your friends and family, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.